everybody, and welcome to the Rise Up Morning Show. Today is Thursday, it is May 30th, and we are here to share helpful news, commentary, and answers to your crypto questions. My name is Evan, and I'm so glad to have you here. Today's going to be a shorter show. I've got an audition to submit a little later today before 9 p.m., 9 a.m. What time is it? It's morning somewhere. I'm going to be joined by Will in just a minute. Alex is at Consensus with Mac. I expect they're having a very exciting time already in Austin. If you're at Consensus, let me know, and then get the heck out of here and go network with people there. And if you're not at Consensus, we can talk about it. Generally speaking, we can answer whatever questions you have about cryptocurrency. If you're new to crypto, if you're curious about crypto, if you're concerned about it, maybe you're worried about the impact Bitcoin's going to have on the environment, you're worried about the future of the banking system, and you feel like nobody on TikTok can really explain it to you, then hang out with us for a while, share your questions, and we'll see if we can't shed some light on the subject. CJ, good morning. Good to see you. Jim, good evening. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. And while we're all just getting here, I do want to invite you to join the Rise Up Discord server where your crypto show lives 24/7. It's totally free to jump in, ask a question, share a link to avoid a scam, and it's at the link in my bio. We've had some trouble accessing it. Some people, have a hard time with it. If that's you, send me a message. I'll make sure you get in. It's a safe place to ask your questions. Nobody's going to make you feel stupid. And also, sign up for the Rise Up newsletter while you're there. It's the best tips, tricks, briefest bullets, one time a week from our show delivered right to your inbox. I hate email newsletters, so I've really tried to make this one helpful for everyday people like us. All for you. All there at theriseupmorningshow.com. Hey, what's going on, Luis? Nice to see you, man. Thanks for being here, brother. How you been? I saw you did a live the other day and I missed it. I'm so sorry to say, and it was with a creator I don't know, but I did see your video afterwards that just made me laugh. Something about him making you a sandwich. It really got me. So if you've got crypto questions, like I said, this is the place for you. We're not going to make you feel bad for asking a question. No question is a dumb question. Crypto can be really hard to wrap your mind around. There are lots of scams and schemes in the space. Lots of people are going to tell you, buy this, buy that, make price predictions, encourage you to get all emotional and buy in right now. So don't fret about that. And those people are not your teachers. We're here to help you navigate the space safely, because the same way your smartphone does so much more than phone calls, crypto is going to be so much more than currency. The NFTs you've heard about, they're going to be so much more than JPEGs, and they're mostly going to help everyday people truly own what's theirs on the internet. Not the way you get with Facebook, not the way you get with Twitter, eBay, any of that stuff. It's all run by intermediary companies, people who are lining their pockets at your expense. Crypto, believe it or not, the technology that makes it possible is going to make it possible for you to securely transact, whether that's with money or just information that matters like your medical data, to share it directly with other people without anybody's ability to take it away, intervene, or your need to rely on them for permission or consent. It's going to be a whole new era of the internet where we unlock what this technology was meant to be. Hey, what's going on, Doom? Thanks for being here. You coming up here, Lucy? Well, Lucy says, let me come up. She's kind of short, so you can't see her too well. Just looking for a place to hang out? Yeah. Lucy says, crypto's good for dogs, too. No, she doesn't. She's like, Evan, forget that crypto stuff. I can't eat it. Okay, now it's a stream. Yeah, now you're talking. Now we got some dogs in the house. Yeah, especially since Alex wasn't here, we got to represent him somehow, right? Mashiste, are you at Consensus? I'm excited to hear from people who are on the ground there. I wonder if he's going to get to meet Hester or Chris Dixon, my hero. Let me go ahead and open up the Discord real quick. If you are in the Discord and you do have a question, you don't have the space to write it here on TikTok because they limit your characters. That's a good place to do it. You can just pop it in the general chat and you can tag me. I'm going to a different conference that's going to be announced soon. Wow, that sounds cryptic. Trust me, bro. announced soon. How exciting. I'm curious to know how you got the announcement before it got announced. I'm excited to hear more. Will and I both are going to be at Bitcoin Nashville, which is in July. He was telling us about it a few weeks ago, and I have it on my to-do list to go apply for a press pass. And I think that'll be a good old time. It seems like it's shaping up to be kind of a big conference, which is surprising to me because I don't exactly think of cryptocurrency when I think of Nashville. Hey Tori, good to see you. Don't fret, don't sweat. We're glad you're here anytime. We had a good little stream in the Discord after this where a couple folks got to come up on stage, talk voice to voice. That was really cool, so we definitely want to do more of that stuff. It's a lot easier to ask your questions when you can kind of unpack things in conversation, ask a follow-up, you know? Follow Aneri or Sarah Wolf or Jesse Pollock on Twitter for more. Well, you know, I already followed Jesse, and I follow him on Warpcast too. I just haven't been terribly present there the last couple of days. So I'm curious to see what's going on there. What am I looking forward to in June? One thing Web3 related and one thing not Web3. Well, that's great. Let me start with the one thing not Web3 because it's easier to think about. I am really looking forward to, I'm going to go home at the end of the month to see my family. I haven't booked the flight yet. I need to do that also. My grandpa, I've talked about it a little on TikTok, is not doing so well. And so I want to be able to spend some time with him and spend some time with my family and kind of ease the burden that they're going through, that he's going through. I'm really looking forward to that. I have mixed emotions about it, as you might understand. I have never really lost anyone significant. Wow, that sounds shitty. I mean to say, this will be the most difficult loss I've had to personally process. My grandpa was like a father to me. He is like a father to me, and it's just such a precious part of my life story that it'll be really difficult to wake up in the world where he doesn't live in the same form anymore, except, you know, in my memories and the way we give him life in the world. So I have a lot of mixed emotions about it, but it will be good, and I am looking forward to it. Another thing I'm looking forward to that is Web3 related, in June, honestly, oh man, I don't know. I'm looking at whatever Laura Shin says on onchain. I'm looking forward to finding out about Mashiste's super secret conference. I'm looking forward to eating more hot dogs and logging them on logadog.xyz. And I'm looking forward to continuing to grow the community here. I'm looking forward to make a bigger impact answering people's crypto questions and helping folks learn about what's going on here. Yeah, I am lucky, Mashiste, to have had someone special that makes it difficult to say goodbye. What did my grandfather do for a career? What's my favorite day that I have with him? Man, Jim, whoo! My grandpa, so he grew up on a farm and thought he might pursue animal husbandry. So he did some light schooling for that in a very rural town in Michigan where pretty much everybody was related to him, which made dating hard. And then he got drafted. He got drafted into Vietnam and went there, trained as a medic. He was deployed with some Marines. He himself was in the Navy, but he was deployed with a unit of combat Marines, or different units. And so he was never fighting, you know, directly, but he had to do a lot of care for people who were, and he had to do a lot of, you know, kind of like hurry up and wait in a lot of not so good, dangerous places, situations as it were. After Vietnam, he did a couple different things, but really what he did for a career was blue-collar medicine. And what I mean by that is, when I was a kid, Gramps worked for the Michigan Gift of Life, the eye bank, and he would, if somebody died who was an organ donor, be the guy who got the call when the clock started ticking to go harvest their organs. You know, he'd take out their corneas, he'd take out whatever, all kinds of stuff. And I remember when I was a kid, some of my favorite memories of him were hearing about his job and then eventually going with him. Obviously, I couldn't be in the room, But it was really cool. I remember one time I was starting to learn to drive, doing driver's training, so you had to log some hours on the road with a licensed adult. And so whenever Gramps got a case, he would call me and offer me the opportunity to be his driver. And we would go, and I do remember one time, this is when I was younger still, being with him when he had some eyes in the back of the truck. And he was like, "You want to see these eyes?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I remember being really underwhelmed and disappointed because, you know, they just looked like jellied flesh. And we were in the parking lot of a gas station because we were refueling the truck when he showed me these corneas. And some ladies walked by, and I was like expressing my, you know, awe and disbelief and my weird opinions about these eyes. And they were like, "You've got eyes?" And he was like, "Yeah, my grandpa's the kind of guy who liked to, you know, joke with people." And he was like, "Yeah, do you want to see him?" And he like took this cooler over and he was like, "Check it out." And these women were like, "Ew, oh." And we were in the gas station and paying for the gas, and they were in front of us, and they said something to the cashier about, "I don't know about those guys, they've got eyes." And Gramps was like, "Yeah, of course we've got eyes, don't you?" You know, just kind of like played it off, made him look a little silly, in a joking, loving way. And he was just, he's very funny. He's got the kind of hands that reflect that kind of life. You know, these big, rough, calloused, strong hands that could tie a rope, but also prune a flower. The kind of hands that could hold you if you were going to fall over the edge of a cliff and you trust to keep you there. And also the kind of hands that could, like, nurture a kitten as he delivered it from its mother. Like, he was just such a strong but gentle, wise but goofy, crass but kind guy. He was. Look at me eulogizing him before he's even gone. Gramps is he's one of a kind. Really one of a kind. They certainly don't make them like that anymore. It's probably for the better. I think if there were too many of them around, you know, well, you know, I don't know. He said, well, one time when he dies, when he gets to heaven, if there's like jobs in heaven, he'd like to be the guy who paints the cats and the chickens. Because, you know, you look at a chicken or you look at a cat and they've just got like a, you know, a splotch, or they've got like a little heart on their nose or whatever. Yeah, thanks, Jim. Yeah, maybe I'll share that story on TikTok so I can have the video forever, but I'll have to do it. I have so many great pictures of him, and I really am looking forward to being there in Michigan with him and with Grammy and just hanging out and spending some time with him. I feel really lucky that I get to be, you know, I'm 33 years old now, and I get to have not just wonderful memories, but so many experiences even now with them alive in my life. Huge. So huge. I worked as an ER nurse and once watched the harvesting of a donor's eye with special instruments. Yeah, totally. It's really interesting. Because of Gramps, at one time, a lot of my family does blue-collar medical jobs. And so at one point in time, I became an EMT. I was like, oh, you know, I am already interested in this stuff and know a little about it. And through part of that, Gramps would always get me other kinds of opportunities. I remember one time getting to go, later in his career, he worked as a surgeon's assistant, like a first assistant to a surgeon. So he was always doing different kinds of operations. And he would say, Ev, you want to come see this or that operation? And the most brutal but interesting operation I think I've ever seen is a hip replacement. I don't know why I think about hips and kidneys in my mind. And if you have never seen the process of replacing a joint, wow, it is violent. It is violent. So I'm sure you know all about that as an ER nurse. Oh my gosh. But it was fascinating. They use like hard tools to, you know, smooth out your socket. They gotta wrestle it out of there. They gotta jam it in the new one. It's wild. You absolutely could not do that to a person who was awake. I think about some of the medicine in times of yore, how just brutal it was. You know, oh, we've come a long way. In Michigan, it was in Midland. It's about 2 hours north of Detroit. That's where I mostly grew up. Went from Las Vegas to Michigan. It's a screen from Mr. Bean, the movie. Oh my God. Core childhood memory unlocked. Let me tell you what, I absolutely love the Mr. Bean movie. And I totally know the scene you're talking about. The moment when he pulls his medical mask down, when she's about to go under, and he's like, oh man, my family and I love that movie. My favorite moment is the monologue David gives when he first sees the painting Mr. Bean has done, and the little nose on it, and he screams and oh God, and talks about how he's gonna go to jail. They're gonna arrest me, and I'll be sharing a cell with Butch McDick. Everyone in the chat who's never seen the movie said, "What? I thought this was a crypto show. What the hell? Oh my God." Rick, okay. Very cool. Medical people. Yeah, Jim. Oh my gosh. Between Vietnam and his job after, sounds like he saved a lot of lives. Heroic. He was that kind of guy. He was a quiet hero. Amazing memories, and they will always stay. Absolutely. Hips are brutal and smells like drilled teeth. Yeah. Oh, the hammer. Oh my gosh. Okay, little onion. You know, I haven't spent a ton of time on the west side of the state, but I do really love it. No, Tori, I have not. He's house sitting and there's a bee. I'm going to have to check it out. Let me write that. Send it to me if you would. Good morning, Will. How are you?
Morning. I'm good. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. I like your ship's wheel. What's it
yes.
called? I forget what the wheel of a ship is called.
Ship's wheel.
The proper term. Yes,
what it's called. Oh, you want to see something that's also great in horrifying, but I will actually. I don't think I'll provide any context at all.
What?
Oh, no context at all. So when I have 3 older brothers, right? And the brother that's closest to me in age, it's a 5-year difference. He turned 30 first, obviously. And so for his 30th birthday, what I did is I used like AI to make an image of his face on top of Hercules wrestling Cerberus. And he got it and he was like, "What the fuck is this?" And he didn't appreciate it till a few years later when he had some directors in his apartment. And for anyone who doesn't know, my brother's an actor also. I had some directors in his apartment, and they were like, "Hey, this is actually a great place to shoot this one shot we want to do." So they wanted to use apartment. And then they went into his closet where he just like had this painting stored. And the director was like, "Get cazzo, Chris." And my brother was like, "Oh, it's just a stupid painting." He was like, "No, it is one of the most magnificent things I have ever seen." Chris is like, "Oh, perfect." So now my brother took that, put it in his bedroom, and gave it a gold frame. And he got one done for his girlfriend too. So they're like looking across from each other. And so for my 30th birthday, I had forgotten that I had done this for him. And when I turned 30, my brother made for me Broseidon, is who I call him.
Oh my God. It does look like Broseidon.
Yeah, it's Broseidon. And it's truly a masterpiece. Helm. Yes. Web3 Jim, thank you. The helm.
Oh my God. Can you send me a picture of that? And can I just save it in the file? There surely will be a way to incorporate it in a newsletter or something. And absolutely, the community needs that in like a vault somewhere.
I would love nothing more. Thomas Goodwin, your reaction is correct. What the fuck?
That's so wild. Yes. That's a great brother.
I'll just do this for the rest of chat.
I appreciate that he's looking sideways, so you can like frame him with stuff like that. The way he looks at you with a little bit of admiration, but also like,
yeah,
you know,
it's good.
The charisma exudes. Oh my God. Yeah, we.
But how's the morning chat been so far? Listen, everybody in chat. Everyone in chat good?
The question, yes, everybody in chat seems to be doing real well. We've got a lot of good folks, a lot of our friends, and Web3 Jim asked a question that I'm going to pose to you, which is, what's one thing you're looking forward to in Web3 and not in Web3 in the month ahead? I didn't think of anything landmark significant in Web3, mostly like, just niche stuff that I'm into, but I don't know. Is there anything coming up or in your life that you're really like, yeah, let's get it?
It's interesting. I had someone who's working on a crypto project reach out to me in my DMs, and they're like, "Hey, dude, just wanted to get opinions of influencers of like what things they're like really excited for that would be like good applications of blockchain technology." And I was like, "Huh, that's actually like a good survey feeds to go around asking people." And I keep coming back to, and it's not on the horizon anytime soon, but I come to like, man, I'd really be excited for when we can get past the NFTs are total garbage because they're profile pictures phase and into the, oh shit, NFT technology can like dramatically improve the lives of the consumers and the artists for things like, or businesses for things. That's what I'm more excited about, businesses for like sports sales. So like we can get rid of fucking Ticketmaster
Yeah.
and the price gouging there, or we can take digital college books and make them NFTs, and then the price of a college book will dramatically drop. And then people can, whoever is the creator, the company, will get continuous sales of that book on secondary markets, and like won't have to make a new edition every single year that costs like a student like $400 or $500. So it's like, when I think about the thing that I'm excited about for Web3, I'm excited for when NFTs start to get adopted by actual companies and start to dramatically change their cash flows. That's the thing in Web3 I'm excited for. I'm excited for anything that gets Web3 stuff in the hands of like normal day people and normal day companies. That's what I'm excited for.
Me too.
And something that's a little bit more short term that I'm excited for, I'm excited for all of the games that are going to be coming out in 2025. I think Immutable X has 7 games that are coming out between now and the end of this year. I think Beam has 4 or 5 games that are coming out by the end of this year built on Beam. But by the end of 2025, it's like 200 games are coming out on Immutable X and Beam together. Like, so, and again, I really like the gaming space for Web3 because, again, it's like putting this stuff in the hands of normal day people without them realizing that they're doing it, and they get to play a game and have fun and potentially make money from it. But even if they don't make money from it, you lower the total cost of ownership for like people who are spending money on skins for their character or their guns or whatever, right? Because they can go and then like resell them and actually recoup some of their money back, all that kind of stuff. So that's the stuff that I'm most excited for Web3. I don't know, Evan, how about you?
I mean, those are all fantastic. I said I'm looking forward to one of the same kind of thing. One of our friends in the comments, Machiste, when you were talking about like NFT use cases, we talk about this all the time on the show. Machiste has built an app called logadog.xyz, which is an experience. It's a hot dog eating contest for on-chain summer, and it uses the Coinbase Combase wallets, and I think a couple of other ways to sign in and track the hot dogs you eat. It's like take a picture, upload it, allow people to vote on whether or not this is in fact you eating a hot dog, and the person who eats the most hot dogs this way wins. And all the Web3 stuff is totally on the back end, but it adds to the verifiability, the security, the customer experience, and it's the kind of proof of concept. You could apply that social verification, tokenizing stuff to just about anything to make it a little bit more useful if it's a contest, if it's a social game. But even things like, I don't know, I'm a surveyor of a property. I'm a guy who comes out and looks at your roof before you buy a house. Everything we do that requires like verification that a person did a thing is going to need those kind of back-end solutions to enhance the credibility, the shareability, the provenance, the certainty people have when they look at that kind of stuff. Medical records I'm thinking about, supply chains when we talk about all the time. But, if you're tracking a head of lettuce that way, in a robust system that's tokenized especially, you create more opportunities for benefit for the consumer, for the business owner, and just improve all the processes. There's an outbreak of E. coli. Where'd it come from? Boom, 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 boom. We find it down to the head of lettuce if we're tracking it that way. So That kind of stuff excites me too. But then, generally, I'm excited for July Bitcoin Nashville. You were the one who told me about it. I still gotta go online and register and stuff, but I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, you're gonna come down?
Yep.
Hell yeah!
So,
Nice. I'll have a wingman as I go up and try to chat with people.
absolutely, man. Let me tell you what. And Machiste asked, "Did you see Mastercard's release yesterday, William?"
I did, but I didn't dive into it. I was busy going and grabbing dinner with my girlfriend at night, and then throughout the day, I have this. In part of my day job, outside of responding to people's video questions, I have this RFP from a company who I can't name, but they're a $45 billion company, and as such, they gave this RFP that is longer than what I imagine the devil's dick is. Like, it's the biggest fucking thing in the entire fucking world, and it is so much fucking work. So I saw the news drop, but I didn't dive into it. So I don't know if anybody can give me the skinny. I don't know if Evan, if you can.
I can't give you the skinny. I had Googled it. I Googled MasterCard crypto for noobs, but that didn't bring anything up. So I'm just going to do MasterCard crypto. It looks like the first thing that comes up is crypto services and payment solutions by MasterCard. And it looks like they launched a peer-to-peer crypto network and vanity address system. So the bullet points are, it's in Europe and Latin America. It's the MasterCard Crypto Credential Network in pilot mode and supports transactions on Bit2Me, Lyrium, and Mercado Bitcoin exchanges. So you can have cross-border payments. I don't see what the crypto backend is, but it looks like the aliases that they use for your crypto wallet, your account, is vanity addresses similar to ENS domains. So super user friendly. You don't have to remember my 0x12567. It'll probably just be like Evan with hat. And I don't know. It looks like they're trying to capture their share of the remittances market. MoneyGram, Western Union, huge volume, huge problems. And this definitely would make it easier. I'm curious to learn more about the kind of back-end solutions that they're offering, what kind of currencies they're using. That could be a big boost for, I don't know, probably for Litecoin.
Oh God. But I don't know. I just kind of see that news and I just go, oh, cool, great. Like another big financial payments institution kind of getting further, getting their next step into the crypto space. So it's just continued proof of like, hey, like the big boys are getting into this market, but they, get in slowly, and it adds more legitimacy to our space. Although if you're a crypto OG, you want them to stay out. But I want them to come in because it makes my bags go up in terms of their dollar valuation, which is, I think, what most of us are here for. So I'm fine with that. But I'm also very curious to see, on the same topic of MasterCard and payments and remittances, very curious to see about the Firedancer upgrade on Solana, assuming it goes well. This is a tangent of what I was going to say. Will solidify Solana as the king for this cycle, at the very least. But I'm very curious to see what Visa does with their announcements, because they're testing stablecoin payments on Solana. And they've had some very positive things to say about it, which is also one of the reasons why I think Ripple will never be the payment system for banks.
Did you see? I made a video about this the other day, and I've had some actually substantive conversations with people in the comments, which is hard to do. But my mind is open to being changed about this, and obviously there are very smart people at Ripple who are working on creating the settlement layer, they say. And I get the gist that, okay, if the front end is whatever currency you want, the back end currency could be XRP. Like it's almost arbitrary. It's got to be fast. It's got to be cheap. Everything's faster and cheaper than the rails that banking systems use now. But I always come back to banks are not going to want to use a settlement layer that they don't own or that they can't own. In a world where tokens are totally cheap and anybody can make one, I just don't think it's as likely they're going to use XRP, which some private company holds, when they could study XRP and then make their own tokens with a settlement layer that is owned by all of them. Whoever the banking, I don't know what kind of groups banks hang out in, but I'm sure that Visa and MasterCard would say, here's our stable token that our customers will use. There's yours. And at the base layer, there's Bankcoin, which all of us mostly use because they got the rails for it. I don't know. What do you think about that?
And so, I personally have worked with some very large financial institutions in my career. I worked with Morgan Stanley directly for 2 years. And by the way, they suck so much to work with, unsurprisingly. And I also, the Toronto Stock Exchange, I worked with directly for 2 years, and a couple other companies I worked a little bit with, but I was really hands-on with those two groups. And let me fucking tell you, whenever there was, when all the news was dropping and the hype for Ripple was at its highest, because they're like, look at all these partnerships that we have with all these companies, and they're all financial institutions, I knew it was bullshit, because this is what Morgan Stanley does, and this is what all the major banks do from their IT department. Their IT departments will take basically pilot-sized, small installs of software or services from all these tech companies, and they shove it into these parts of their IT environment, which are called centers of excellence, which is a really nice title to say, we're going to play around with shit and then figure out if we can make it ourselves better, or if we can't, then maybe 5 years later we'll install it, right? And so that's what every single major financial institution does, and they can do it because they have more money than God. And because of that, they can build it themselves and hire whoever they need to do. So that's what happens at these institutions, and that's what they do with their partnerships too. They'll have some partnership announcement, and they go, cool, great, show us your stuff. Huh? How about you open up that, oh, we're going to use you. Oh, just not in the way you thought. And then they just take your ideas and they put it towards their own project, which in the case of these financial institutions went, okay, this is faster and cheaper than what we do with SWIFT today for international payments. How can we do that ourselves? And now you have them you have PayPal on Solana too. I saw a comment, I can't remember who it was. But PayPal's on Solana, Visa's on Solana, MasterCard's getting into the game, all this stuff. And the thing is what Visa's doing on Solana is they're building it themselves. Yeah. They're building it themselves on Solana, because why, in God's name, in a heavily regulated industry, would a bank or payment system like them ever bring in a third party? And to them, that's risk. That's risk of getting huge, massive penalties because they do not control that system. Yeah, they cannot get audits on that system. So why in God's name would they ever use a Ripple? They're just going to take the ideas and make it themselves and oh, Ripple, you want some partnership announcement? Cool, fine, whatever. We have a long-term game in mind here. We don't give a shit about this. Yeah. And so that's what these institutions like a Morgan Stanley, like a Visa, like a MasterCard do. It's just how they operate. The other thing too with Ripple, and I remember when the news dropped on this, I was making hate content on XRP for years. So I was and all this stuff started coming out, and I started trying to point this out to the XRP army, and I some people were good listeners and good conversations, some people weren't, but when Swift mentioned their partnership with Chainlink, do you remember that?
Yeah, and I was like, oh, point about this in the comment. Game over, man.
Game over, because Ripple's trying to replace Swift, but Swift is now incorporating Chainlink's Oracle solution to lower their costs and their expenses to the point where it's competitive with Ripple. And then why? There's no reason. There's no reason for any large financial institution to ever use Ripple.
No. Not when they have so many options that, one, they're familiar with, which are already compliant, and two, when they can build it themselves.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing.
In my mind, unless somebody can meaningfully overturn those kind of arguments, I just don't see a likely future.
And Machiste, you're absolutely correct. They have already spent money into integrating with Swift. There are already partnerships and relationships there. There are also international regulations that force them to work with Swift. So why would they ever spend money to change that when in some business relationships in certain countries, they can't change it? So, yeah. Exactly. CCIP equals bring your own blockchain. Yeah, 100%.
I mean, that's the solution. And when people talk about whether it's banking or this is why I'm kind of, you said a second ago, like I'm gonna, it's good for me because it'll pump my bags. People are worried about like, will these big players coming in co-opt what blockchain is supposed to be? And I'm curious for your take on this. I think that in the short term, absolutely, banks are going to get there first at scale. And they are going to bring the technology to people, kind of the way that Facebook brought social networks to people. And now that we've had it for a minute, we're like, oh, wait a second. Social networks are great, but we don't own shit. We don't have any rights here. And I think that people are going to experience the same thing with crypto. They're going to be like, wow, crypto at my bank? This is crypto? Oh, crypto is so great. But then they're going to be like, oh, but you own it? And then they're going to learn, oh, I could own it. I think that's one of the ways that blockchain in the short term may be co-opted, but in the long term, kind of the way that having an oppressive king makes you long for freedom. I think people are going to become familiar with the benefits, and that's when the good stuff.
Yeah. So I'm basically in total agreement with that, because like in the short term, like the large players in the financial institution are like slowly getting into the crypto space. But the thing is even if they put in like one pinky toe into the water, their pinky toe is so massive that it raises the tide in the pool, like the water level in the pool, by a gargantuan amount, right? So they'll keep slowly getting into the crypto space, and as they get more of their gigantic mass that makes up the traditional financial world in there, like they'll start taking over larger and larger portions of the crypto market, crypto industry, crypto space, as you will. But there's thankfully already been a lot of homegrown grass movement kind of stuff going on in crypto for a long time now. So because like everything for the most part built on crypto is built by just like normal day people, and so like you'll always have that. So while we'll have financial institutions come in and take up a sizable portion of the crypto space in terms of like things being made and built and kind of what becomes big, I imagine it'll probably be like 40 or 50% of stuff in the short term, the next few years, will be things coming out of like big companies and big money players. But then like that will get evened out over time, because one of the beautiful things about decentralization is that it is open to everybody all the time, anywhere, no matter who you are, no matter where you are. So,
well, and it's the foundation.
Yeah,
When
that's
you
the
have
foundation.
decentralization as the foundation, everything can return to that. If it's closed,
it'll never go away.
Private, you have a hard time building decentralized things on top of it. So we got the foundation right. Thank God Satoshi, but
yeah. So there will always be a home for, mom and pop shops, if you will, to be able to build something and to be competitive. Because one of the other beautiful things about the decentralized world, very much so with like the open source world, and if you don't know open source, if you're not from like a data analytic mind space, or you're not from tech or anything like that, the open source world is basically just like data scientists, modelers, data analysts, people like that, taking code that they've made and just putting it up and available on the internet for free. And it's a huge culture in the tech space. And so that nature of like, hey, we're people and we're going to help out people. And actually, the most accurate AI machine learning models in the world are available open source. They're free. Anyone can grab them and tweak them and make their changes. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful piece of humanity in the tech culture of today. And that is very much so encapsulated in the decentralized space as well. You'll always have people helping other people who need extra skill sets, who are building things to help make building other things in our decentralized blockchain space easier. So it's fantastic, because that cannot get crushed by these large institutions that are coming in, where they would crush them if they could, because that's just the influence of capitalism, which I don't think is necessarily bad, but it's the influence of capitalism and companies wanting to become monopolies, and then, well, that's a conversation for another time. Of then society being like, no, we gotta push this back down a little bit to create a more even playing field. But that's always a swing. But that's getting more economically philosophical.
No, it's okay, man. That's what we're here for. We're the Rise Up Morning Show. We talk about crypto, and it's philosophical. Can I ask you a couple of rapid fire questions that I saw in the comments? I want to take it all the way back to Jim, who said on your note about gaming, he said he's more excited for a Web3 game from a Web2 company than he is about a lot of the Web3 games launching, because they're coming out of new studios or startups.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's kind of the thing is like, do you actually think, Will, what's your opinion? Do you think that any of these games that are coming out, the 200 or so games, next year and then the year after, I see some AAA budgets and companies or whatever coming in, but do you share that sentiment, or do you disagree? And do you see it as exclusive? Because I don't know that I see it as exclusive.
So I agree and I disagree. And funny enough, this is actually a topic that I am a little bit more qualified to talk about, not because I'm a video game developer, but two of my best friends are, and one of them is the lead developer for Rockstar, making GTA 6 and he made Red Dead Redemption 2. So I know a lot about how the gaming industry really, really works. And so I agree with the comment in that I'm very excited for a Web3 studio making a legit Web2 studio. God, what am I saying? A AAA gaming studio that is a traditional Web2 company that is making a Web3 game. Okay, I got that sentence out right. Because that's the company that has the marketing budget to get eyeballs on it, and has a dedicated fan base, and also the ability to manufacture at scale to bring on people into Web3, right? But I'm very excited for these 200 games that are coming out. Because it's like the first time we're seeing a bunch of games come out, right? And there's a chance that one of them at least could be really good and could get people excited. All you need is one game that's good and fun to play that gets people excited, right? And that brings attention to the Web3 space. But it's AAA gaming studios do not take risks often. If you are a video game player, you know that over the past 10, 15 years or so, we've had so many of the same game that gets made. And the only time where something new splashes on the scene is when you have an indie game studio make something new and different that becomes popular, which is rare. It's very rare. It almost never happens. The percentages of it are well below 1% for all the indie games that get put out. So, the last game that you saw was, who was it? The people who started Battle Royale. It wasn't PUBG. It was, World War Z or something like that.
Okay.
It was a company before PUBG. But either way, indie gaming studios made the Battle Royale scene, and then AAA gaming studios were like, oh, shit. That's awesome. And then now we've been flooded with Battle Royale games. Before that, too, you even saw cash flow models change when you had Riot Games make League of Legends. League of Legends is I don't know if it still is, but it had the highest revenue stream in the world for 10, 15 years. And it was totally free. No one had done that before. No one had made that successful. And they made money off of selling skins. And so now, I'm really excited for these 200 games, because we need to see one of those games prove to AAA gaming studios that there is an audience, that there is the ability to make money, and that they can dramatically change up their cash flows in a way that's going to excite their investors. And so that's why I'm really excited for these 200 games. And these 200 games are incredibly important, because if there's one that is genuinely successful, that is the model that then goes up to the AAA gaming studios and they copy it, and then they put out their games, right? So it's a natural step of progression that AAA gaming studios need to see. They need to see that indie game success for a new style or new type of cash flow in their gaming economies, in order for them to say, cool, we'll make a game, because any decision they make is an evaluation of risk.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I had an interesting conversation. Alex and I, and Mac was there too, we talked to William Quigley. He's the co-founder of Tether. He's the co-founder of Wax. And he has been in tech since the 1980s when he came in to do gaming. His partner at the time was the guy who invented, my nerd lore is not as strong. I don't remember the name of the game, but this guy invented the concept of selling in-game items for fiat. And William Quigley's theory that he is very convincing is that if you look back through history, you see what we're talking about in gaming, what we're talking about with banking, what we'll talk about with elections, any Web3 innovation, any tech innovation is going to happen where a startup company with less risk, who doesn't have a vested interest in the way things are now to preserve their power, that startup company is going to innovate. It happened with arcades, and then it became platforms, and then it became mobile first, or excuse me, it became online, then it became mobile. And in each of these instances, what he argues happened is that the incumbents were displaced because they didn't want to shift their business model. He gave this talk a couple years ago where he was saying, when these big companies see what Web3 gaming is, they're going to jump on the NFT train, but they're not going to do NFTs the way we talk about them. The same way your banks aren't doing crypto the way we talk about it. And his philosophy is actually not that they will embrace it, but that they may try to use it to some, like Web 2 way, and that people will come to experience the benefits of it and then will expect it and demand it. And that only the upstart companies who have more to gain than to lose will be the ones to give it to them. So I'm curious to know what you think about that. Do you think it's likely that a Rockstar Games is truly going to embrace it, or do you think it's more likely that one of these startups, even if they don't have the hit game, is going to be the ones, because they understand it, they can do it, there's less risk, to give the people what they want? He says that's the inevitable cycle. And I'm pretty convinced by it, but...
So my take on it, I don't know if I agree or disagree with the theory exactly, because in my mind, I think it's pretty similar, but maybe slightly different, where, again, going off the basis of indie games do it, and then AAA gaming studios. But even with AAA gaming studios, there's a big hierarchy of studios, right? So it's almost like going from like Pee Wee baseball to like AAA to like, then you have AA and the pros, right? For baseball analogy. So you're going to have the indie game studios who make a ton of games first, but then you're also going to have a AAA gaming studio like Ubisoft. Ubisoft is very much so, their culture is very much so like experimental.
Well, aren't they doing a Web3 game or partnered with someone who is?
Yeah, well, the thing is they first got into the space in 2017 when they announced a partnership with Engine Coin. And so, that was a lot of hype for Engine Coin back in 2017. So they've been experimenting with blockchain technology and building Web3 games for 7 years now. So they're definitely ahead of the game of any of the AAA gaming studios. And so I view Ubisoft almost as like one of those indie firms, in that sense, because they're very much so, they've been getting their hands dirty. They know the most. But a company like Rockstar, it's going to go one of two ways with someone like them, because they have Grand Theft Auto made $6 billion.
I don't know. I can find out, but
in like Web3 sales, like it's the most profitable single game ever, and it's multiple billions. And the thing is a lot of the most of the money comes from their sales in their multiplayer world for like their cars and houses and planes and all that stuff. And it's been a continuous source of cash flow for them. If they could incorporate NFTs, if those were NFTs, they get that initial sale, they get to the same $6 billion they had before, but then players can then sell those to other people, and then Rockstar can get a cut of every single sale. And that dramatically increases the amount of money that Rockstar makes, while at the same time lowering the total cost of ownership for players. So it's a net win-win. So, but it's going to be one of two things. It's either going to be the higher-ups at Rockstar are going to go, we have a good thing going for us, let's not change it. Or, because like $6 billion, you might not want to mess with that formula. You might not want to mess with that formula. Or, you experiment and you try to improve upon it. So, and I don't know enough about the culture of a company like Rockstar to say what direction they're going to go in with that.
You don't even know when they're going to release GTA 6. Is that really your friend, or is he just leading us on?
No, it's he says it's going to be a year, but if you ask him, he's like, it's definitely, totally, maybe, for sure, kind of, who knows, next year, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
you know. Go
But
ahead.
yeah, I don't know if I answered your question or not, but
No, I mean it's an ongoing. We're going to have to wait and see. The question, is answered by what you think will happen. I think some outcomes are more likely than others, but we're ultimately going to have to wait and see. And I agree with Jim, and I think you do too, that before anything else, it's got to be a good game. It's not going to work if it's not a great game and people don't love to play it. So,
yeah. I mean, look at Pal World. Pal World, great name. Do you know Pal World, Kevin? It's basically.
I mean, I know it, but I haven't played it.
Yeah, Pokemon with guns. Yeah, I didn't play it either, but like that was an indie game, and it shot up to the top as the #1 most popular game in the world for a while, #1 most streamed game in the world for a while. So, like it's totally possible a Web3 game can come out, and so long as it feels like a normal video game and all the blockchain shit's in the background, totally possible to find something that really sticks to people, but very difficult. But yeah, yeah. It's exciting, man. I'm looking forward to it.
I do want to ask you one last thing I forgot about. This is a diversion from this conversation to the last one, which is you mentioned about open source. And we were talking about this the other day with Mac. I don't think a lot of people understand how open source can be profitable for companies. And I always use the example of Linux, which is like the world's leading OS. And I talk about WordPress, which is monetizable, but is open source. And I'm curious what your answer is.
One second. Oh, hello.
Yeah. Take your time. Don't fret.
What was that?
Is coming?
Oh, for cleaning? Yeah. Hey, Dimitri, are we cleaning today? Okay. Yeah, today's good. Thank you. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. Do you have a good answer? I bet you have a better one than I do. I often talk to people about like IP rights, open source. The benefits of doing that, especially the monetary benefits of like just getting your idea into the world and into the hands of more people. But what is your answer? And do you have go-to examples when people ask you, they're like open source software? I find people just generally don't know how big that is if they're not in like the tech community.
So the question, just to reiterate, is basically like, if you yourself are putting stuff onto open source, how do you make money? Or is it more so if you're taking advantage of open source stuff, how do you then turn that into something to make money?
The question, I mean, yes, it could be, but the question is really, somebody comes to you and says, I don't understand how open source works. Why is it profitable? Or why is it, I didn't know it was the dominant, the way most software reaches the world. If they say that, you would say.
So that's a hard one to answer directly, and that's not something I've thought about, but let me give my 2 cents on it. So one thing in the data science modeling world is, in order for you to get a big fat paycheck, you need to be an experienced, vetted data scientist, data analyst, all that kind of stuff. One of the ways you prove that is by publishing stuff to open source. That's how you start to kind of build credentials for yourself, right? You post projects. You as a data scientist, when you actually go in for a job, you need to submit work to them to review. One of the things you can do also is you can show like how accomplished you are in open source. You can show how accomplished you are in open source competitions. And like all of your work gets posted, and it's a way to differentiate yourself and prove out that like you are a valuable modeler, right? So as for an individual, if you have the coding skill set, it's an environment you want to get involved in because it'll help you make your base salary of $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a year, right? I know some data scientists that make well over $1 million a year. They're the top data scientists in the world. Yeah. And so there's that from an individual standpoint, which is why work gets posted, because there's an incentive there. It's not a direct pay, but it's an indirect pay that you will receive. For a company, you want to go to open source because to like oftentimes grab your codes for certain projects to incorporate into solutions of yours, because they are the most vetted models in the world. Because of this culture that the data science community has kind of created on their own. And as a result, you have the top data scientists in the world for decades now vetting and tweaking and adding their work because it builds up their net worth in the community, which then turns into dollar signs when they go and they work for somebody. And so you can then feel good. Cool. I'm going to take these models. I'm going to put them into my solution that is then going to do X, Y, Z. Right. I have to build a bunch of other stuff around it. And if you don't have the skill set, like you still need data scientists to understand how to use the model, how to prep data, all that stuff. So it's not like you can go to open source, take the code, and you're like, cool, and now I'm ready to go do my thing. Like, no, there's so many more steps you have to do. So giving stuff to open source does not remove any job security for data scientists, modelers, data analysts, things like that. It honestly kind of reminds me a little bit, now that I'm saying all of this out loud, of like the incentive system for like Bitcoin mining. Because like you become a Bitcoin miner, like you're putting all this money forward to build this Bitcoin mining complex in order to get this Bitcoin mining reward or just the chance for it, right? So like same thing with open source. Like you're putting in all this work and effort, putting in stuff into open source to then hopefully get a reward later on by proving like your worth and value. Same thing kind of like Bitcoin mining. I don't know. Maybe it's not a direct comparison, but it just pops in my head.
But the spirit of it is good. Will, I don't know if you have your heart stopped, but I actually have to get going here in just a minute. I have an audition to submit this morning, and I've got to take some pictures of my hands. So that's the thrill of my day. I want to give the chance for anybody to ask their kind of, final questions. I know it was a short show today, but before we get out of here, while you're typing them up, let me remind you, we've got the Discord server. It's at theriseupmorningshow.com. If you're not there yet, it's at my bio, it's at Will's bio. It's everywhere. You cannot get away from this thing. And if you're not there yet, what the heck are you doing? Come on in, ask us. Yes.
But also remember, the Discord link, I think on Evan's works, the Discord link on mine and Alex's don't work, but sometimes it does. So if you can't get access to it directly, you can go to my Instagram, my Twitter. You can get the link that way, or just send me a DM and say it's not working, and I'll send you an invite.
Yeah, same here. Contact us. We will get you in. It's a great place to keep the show going 24/7. You got a question, you want to share a link, you want to post some research that you've done, bring it to the community, get a second pair of eyes on it, avoid scams, all that good stuff. I'm going to be posting an update this weekend about the kind of courses, live courses we'll be offering sometime very soon, working out a kink with Discord.
Yep. And also, guys, I'll be putting up my morning update on the Bitcoin chart and the ETFs momentarily. So make sure you watch it and you like and you comment and save it and share it and then hit that bell icon and yeah.
Yeah. You can find all the good links for the show, Will's profile, my profile. If you're not following everybody, you can find it all at theriseupmorningshow.com, the YouTube page, the Discord, the newsletter. We'll have a newsletter this weekend. And we'll be back here Monday through Thursday, 7 a.m. Central Standard Time next week. So let me see if we've got any questions in the comments. And then, Will, I'll kick it back to you. Something you said that I forgot about was Firedancer. Someone asked earlier, what are you excited about this month, this summer? I am inclined to agree with you. The biggest update coming to any blockchain anywhere that probably matters that we're going to talk about is the Firedancer. If the juice is worth the squeeze, that's going to be
Firedancer, and also I'm excited to see what comes out of onchain summer with Coinbase and Base and what announcements they have and stuff like that. Those are the two things for this year I'm kind of pumped for. Yeah. Mainly because I'm heavily exposed to Solana and Base, so I'm very excited.
Pump my bags.
Pump my bags.
That, and also I think as meme season heats up, like the elections are coming, it's about to be Pride Month. I'm really frankly looking forward to the memes that are going to come out for Pride Month. I think that's going to be great. I think that's going to continue to be like a fun wake up every day and smile at the crypto space thing.
Yeah, that will be nice because sometimes it's hard to smile when you look too closely.
yeah, exactly. Well, listen, man, thank you so much for hanging out with me. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us. We'll be back Monday morning, 7 a.m. Central Standard Time. Catch all our links at theriseupmorningshow.com. Jump in the Discord. And until next time, my friends, have a great weekend. Rise up.